Hey guys, sorry, it's really cold. It's the Civil War Wanderer. I'm here at Valley Forge in Pennsylvania, I think. So we are doing some wandering, not Civil War wandering, but we are doing some wandering. Valley Forge, December 1777. Washington chooses this as a good area to set up a winter encampment. Much like in the Civil War, the armies would kind of set camp for the winter because the roads and passages would be too wet and too muddy to actually, uh, do any campaigning on. So Washington, with the task of both keeping an eye on the British and defending the, basically defending the Congress, or would you call them congressmen from the Continental Congress, that had left Philadelphia after it fell. They were down in towards York and Lancaster. So he chose this bordering the Schuylkill River as a high point and vantage point to that checked off all those boxes of keeping an eye on the British, protecting the delegates out in York and Lancaster, and also to kind of rebuild his army. At this point, he has, I think it's 12,000 troops encamped out here. It becomes the fourth largest city with over 1,500, I think it was 1,500 log cabins built up. And actually, I see a couple over here we're going to go take a look at. So stay tuned. I am currently in a recreation of one of the winter log cabins that Washington ordered to be constructed for his men. Like I said, about 1,500 of these would be constructed, and although they were good blockage from the wind and the elements, still not a very good place to be. As you can see, and I'm actually out here in winter time, or March, so late winter, early spring, but you can see the terrain is pretty rolling hills, and it catches every bit of wind that that blows around here. I'm so out of breath because the wind just like hits your face, and it's that kind of wind that takes your breath away, and like not in a good pretty girl kind of way. But so as a result of disease in the camp and exposure to the elements, there will be about 2,000 casualties here at Valley Forge. Now, that being said, Washington does recognize the risk of disease, so he actually issues out orders which kind of guide the men to better sanitation, and that will actually help them in a lot. He also, this is the first time, or one of the first times we see early cases of, I believe it's called inoculation, against I think it's smallpox. And sorry if I'm wrong on any of this. This is just, this is very new to me. But yeah, so he inoculates his men that actually protects them from this disease spreading in camp, and helps them out throughout the rest of the war too. So, but yeah, very cold, very windy. But you can see the commanding, landscape that this has, kind of being one of the highest points out here, which really allow Washington to keep an eye on the British and any movement that they might have. Have a little bit of sunlight left. I'm gonna try to get over to Knox's headquarters. So, come on. All right, another stop as I try to make it to Knox's headquarters. Behind me in this closed off area, it's called Wayne's Woods. This was where the Pennsylvania line was commanded by Brigadier General Anthony Wayne. They would, similar like to the rest of the camp, 14 by 16 winter huts built all throughout this area. And yeah, just another little highlight of the place. But let's keep going. So still making our way to Knox's headquarters, but here is a statue of Brigadier General Anthony Wayne. He's actually facing towards his hometown down there. And this is just, again, another view of the just really good high ground terrain, plenty of open fields of fire for Washington to use. Look at that beautiful sunset. But not too much further. I don't know if you can see down there. That's where we're headed. So let's get to it. So let's talk defenses of Valley Forge. Obviously, we are in a elevated position, and Washington did use this to his advantage. As you can see behind me are the remnants of the original entrenchments that Washington had ordered to be dug. In total, there's about 2 miles of infantry entrenchments, along with 5 readouts with artillery pieces. So, hey, hold on, look at that. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about, man. You can't beat that. But yeah, so 5 readouts, about 2 miles of trenches. So down there is where I'm trying to go, and it looks like I'm running out of sun, so I don't know if I'll be able to make it. But let's talk about a European soldier, I believe it was from the Prussian army, by the name of, last name is von Steuben. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he comes out to Valley Forge and is not impressed with the state of the Continental Army. So he goes to Washington and tells him that he was a general, which might have been a little bit of an elevated position of what he actually was. But Washington, impressed with his knowledge of European military tactics, accepts his offer, and so von Steuben, that sounds right, starts drilling the Continental Army. You can easily imagine that here in these fields, but really whips them into shape. It's funny, he has very poor English, so he actually has to use a translator. He does whip them into shape. He starts writing down these drills and manuals for the Continental Army. He later publishes them, and it becomes what's known as the Blue Book. Now, I joined the Army in 2015, and one of the things that I got issued, and obviously it's not going to be the same, but I'm curious to see if there's a relation. It was called the Blue Book, and it was kind of like the basics for every soldier. So, but yeah. This is Knox's headquarters, actually that right there, a little bit on that in a second. But he stays here with his wife Lucy at the farm of a John Brown, which I believe most of this is not original to the time, maybe the barn, but this would have been Knox's headquarters. Now, a thing to note, what you see here with the white plaster was actually added later, but this stone section right here, this was part of the original part of Knox's headquarters. So we made it. I hope you enjoyed this very unscripted and last minute video of my trip to Valley Forge. So unfortunately, I didn't get enough sun to get down to Washington's headquarters, but I believe it is that house right there where he stayed. His wife, Martha, would join him later in the encampment and would tend the house and host the officers and their spouses. But yeah, that's Valley Forge.